Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Porte ISD, and thank you for being here. It is 7:04 p.m. Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. And I hereby call this meeting to order. Notice that this meeting has been posted in a manner required by law. The Board of Trustees of the Porte Independent School District is now convened. Let the record show that all trustees minus Russell Shoppy are in attendance and a quorum is present. As the Porte ISD Board of Trustees, every student's success is our #1 priority. We are here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. However, audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of that meeting. The board members may not respond to those comments made in the public comment section. The proceedings may be recorded, and we respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank you for taking time to join us here this evening in your interest in the Porte Independent School District. The opening board protocol typically stops right there, but I do want to just acknowledge the overwhelming number of people that are here tonight. It is really a testament of all the great things that are happening tonight, and we're going to recognize everybody in here, so we appreciate you. But at this time, if you'll please stand for the presentation of colors led by the LaPorte High School ROTC. Forward, march, left, 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 right. The colors are presented by Cadet Command Sergeant Major Dirk Johnson, Cadet Lieutenant Aiden Trent, Cadet Private Cole Hart, Cadet Captain Damian Romero. Freeze and colors. Order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Now, if you please bow your heads for tonight's invocation, which will be given by Board of Trustee David Yonda.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your love and mercy. Thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for all the extraordinary caring people who help our students succeed each and every day. As we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, please watch over our staff and students. May they receive well-deserved rest in the comfort of home this holiday. We praise you, for you are the source of all that is true, good, and beautiful. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Ready? See? Freeze it. Colors. Order. Colors. Center face. March time. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Color guard. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. Thank you. May all be seated. As I just mentioned, we got a lot of people to recognize tonight, and we're going to start right into that and move to item 5, public recognitions. Tonight's recognitions are going to be presented by Director of Communications, Mr. Adam Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Hanks. Lomax Elementary 5th grade honor choir is entertaining us tonight. They're under the direction of Miss Eileen Guinan. Take it away.
How do we get over there?
Like right here. Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Go, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second recognition of the night involves our Early Act program. That is a student service organization sponsored by the Rotary Club of LaPorte, launched at Jenny Reed Elementary School during the 22-23 school year. Now, the club has expanded to James H. Baker 6th grade campus this school year as last year's Jenny Reed 5th graders advanced in grade level. Between the two groups, more than 50 students are involved in the organization. And without the volunteers who pour their time and efforts into these service organizations, they would not be active, neither would they be successful. So before we recognize our students, please join me in thanking Frank Nance, Michelle Nance, and Gabrielle Williams for their efforts in leading these groups. We're going to start out with Jenny Reed Elementary students. Hannah Johnson, President. Hannah Johnson, President.
There she is.
There she is.
This is our president.
Egan Reff, Vice President. And the rest of the Jenny Reed Elementary Early Act Club, please come forward.
We're so shy to the last, wasn't there? You guys are there.
Now we move on to James H. Baker 6th grade campus Early Act Club. Again, these students were 5th graders at Jenny Reed last year, where the organization was founded in the district. Ava Smith is our corresponding secretary. Kinsey Smith, marketing director. Austin Knight, early actor. Madeline Hayes, president. And Peyton Bryan, vice president. Alexandria Quiroga, recording secretary. And the rest of the James H. Baker 6th grade campus Early Act Club, please come forward.
Can you see this one?
Everybody look here at me.
Well, just goofy guy right there.
Right here. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Good job.
Thank you, Early Act, for all that you do. Moving on in our recognitions this evening, Sofia Gujardo Salinas. I thought I saw you back there. Guys, we are among greatness right here, and I'm about to tell you why. Sophia recently placed 6th at the FFA's National Spanish Creed event. She competed against 37 other scholars from across the country. Sophia competed last year as a green hand in that first year and was the Texas runner-up. I think we honored you about this time last year, too. The competition requires students to memorize and recite the Spanish Creed. She also competed this past week at a district event held at LaPorte High School. Congratulations to you.
Great job.
Penelope Rios. I know you were here. Oh, there you are. Penelope Rios has kept the legacy of excellence going for our awesome cross-country program. She placed 43rd out of more than 150 cross-country runners at the UIL State Cross-Country Championships recently. She clocked a time of 19:21, which was 12 seconds faster than her regional championship time. I don't know how you make up 12 seconds in that short a time frame, but by God. That is the second best time ever recorded by a lady dog at the state track meet.
Get her coach up here.
Congratulations, Penelope. We would now like to recognize LaPorte Junior High 8A volleyball. Now, this time last year, the LaPorte Junior High 7th grade volleyball team was celebrating a district championship after a phenomenal season. Now, the same group of student athletes is now celebrating their second straight district championship. This time, as members of the LaPorte Junior High 8A volleyball team. The district champion LaPorte Junior High 8A volleyball team members are Presley Klein, Michaela Garza, Jimena Vela, Isabel Rodriguez, Delea Davis, Natalie Chavez, Rita Martinez, Tegan Solander, Macy Hanks, Madison Jensen, head coach Heather Tobeck, managers Emma Leva, Bella Serrano, and Mackenzie Willis, assistant coaches Alyssa Ruffin and Vanessa Spencer. Congratulations on the wonderful season.
Hey, hold on.
Coaches.
Come on, coach.
We're going to do a little bit of shifting. Mr. Rare is bringing in AP scholars. They are next up to be recognized this evening. AP scholars are next up to be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mr. Carlin Grammer, Principal, LaPorte High School.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to recognize these next students. We get to do this every year, fortunately. And so what we're going to do is recognize the students at the high school who were named AP Scholars for their performance on the AP test last spring. What I want to do is do a very quick, kind of tell you what these awards mean. So AP Scholar is a student who scores 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. That's quite a performance. AP Scholar with honor scores at least a 3.25 on all AP exams and scores 3 or higher on 4 or more exams. AP Scholar with distinction, 3.5 on all AP exams and 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. An AP Seminar and Research student, They complete a rigorous AP seminar and research course, including extensive study on a topic approved by the Porte ISD Instructional Review Board, and AP Capstone Diploma. So this is for a student who earns 3 or higher in AP seminar, AP research, and on 4 additional AP exams throughout their high school career. So we have quite a few students for you this year, and I'm going to call their names. Some of them may get called twice because they may have won multiple honors here. So, Anna Alvarado, AP Scholar. Moaz Chata, AP Scholar. Xavier Collins, AP Scholar. Next is Natalie Gamble. And these are all AP Scholars, and I'll tell you when we switch to the new. Lucas Halberdier, AP Scholar. Nadia Olson. Abigail Powers. Lillian Woolard. Francesco Bitetto. Ender Burris. Ava Espinosa. Aixa Garcia. Ronan Marler. Yasmin Mohammed. Lynn Nguyen. Angelica Ontiveros. Daniel Ortiz. Aubrey Slayton. Kira Bonzagno. Victor Salinas. Joseph Summer. Haley Spears. Ariel Thompson. Ivan Toledo. Alexis Torres. And Amy Wilson. Those are our APs. Now we'll take some of the reason they're not here is these are very busy students. They're also involved in some other activities. There's some band performances going around the city tonight, different things. And some of these students are actually graduates and couldn't talk them coming back to LaPorte for this. But now I want to talk to you about the AP Scholars with Honor. Liz Olvera. David Lara. Lauren Nguyen. Jacob Joji. John Summer. Brooklyn Waller. Jenna Leslie. Jorge Venegas. Ender Burris. Ava Espinosa, I think she's already up here, right? Annalise Owen. Amy Willis. She's already up here. And Jorge Venegas. These are your 2023 AP Scholars. I didn't answer one single question. I know. All right, everybody look right here. 1, 2,
Mom, you good?
Students, if you did not get your picture made before, make your way back here to the back hallway, and we're going to get your picture taken so we can have your portrait put on the wall.
Outstanding.
Continuing with our recognitions this evening, we move on to staff recognitions. With that, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Angie Viator, Executive Director of our Human Resources Department.
Thank you, Adam. I just want to say it's an honor that we introduce our Aspiring Leaders Cohort 3 tonight to you, to our Board of Trustees, as well as our community. The goal of our Aspiring Leadership Academy is to inspire, support, and grow our future campus and district leaders, and we have lots. Our year-long program provides opportunities for our aspiring leaders to collaborate and grow together, and to just gain some insightful leadership from our current leaders on campuses as well as in the district. Whether our aspiring leaders want to grow in their current role or they're aspiring to another role, we want to support them, and we are so proud to be able to offer this program here in our district. And we also learn from one another. So I just want to go ahead and introduce them, and if you will come up here to receive your certificate and meet our Board of Trustees. We have from Bayshore Elementary, we have M. Cervantes. From LaPorte High School, we have Keisha Crawford. From LaPorte Junior High, we have Deborah Fowler. From our DeWalt Academy, we have Stacy Glenn. LaPorte Junior High, Jessica Ming. Jenny Reed Elementary, we have Miss Michelle Nance. From LaPorte High School, we have Ashley O'Malley. From Support Services, we have Andrea Paxton. Heritage Elementary, Sarah Rabelais. Also from Support Services, we have Jessica Rogers. Bayshore Elementary, Emily Varisco. From our secondary DAP, Aldo Vidal. From LaPorte High School, we have Erin Wells. And from our instruction department, we have Kristen Wheeler. I just want to say we are so very fortunate to have these leaders with us and for them to be able to come and join our group. I do want to say we are very proud of our Aspiring Leadership Academy. We have so far in our last two cohorts, 13 of our former aspiring leaders have taken on new campus or district leadership roles from their respective cohorts. And we are so proud of these aspiring leaders and look forward to continuing to grow with them. Thank you so much.
Here, 1, 2, 3.
Y'all are awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce Terry Cook. She is our coordinator for Partners in Education, and she is presenting our Business Partners of the Month.
We're going to start this evening with Air Products. Air Products gives back to our community in a variety of ways, including the company's involvement as a partner in education at LaPorte High School. In May, Air Products hosted a breakfast for all LaPorte High School employees, and as school began this year, they were one of the sponsors for the annual Watermelon Feast for football and volleyball players, trainers, cheerleaders, band members, and chatos. Air Products has participated in the LaPorte Education Foundation Partner Program, as well as the Foundation's annual golf tournament, Dollar Patrol, and Breakfast with the Stars. Jason Clark, Plant Manager, and Angela Thatcher, Regional Admin, serve as our Partners in Education representatives. We're very grateful to Air Products and the many ways that they give back to our community and demonstrate their support of our schools. Angie, would you please come up and accept this award? Also is extremely involved in our community, and the company serves as a partner in education with Lomax Junior High School. One of the highlights of INEOS's activities since they joined the Partners in Education program last spring is the luncheon they served to the Lomax Junior High School teachers and staff during Teacher Appreciation Week. Chris Clinton, Plant Manager, is an active member of the LaPorte Education Foundation Board of Directors and previously served as the Foundation's Vice President for Development. INEOS Oligomers has also served as a sponsor of the Foundation's annual golf tournament. We want to thank the INEOS Oligomers team for your commitment to education and your continued support of Porte ISD. Chris Clinton, our Plant Manager, is here.
Photo op.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now introduce Ms. Charlotte Penny, the Executive Director of the LaPorte Education Foundation. Charlotte has a couple of recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. We have two wonderful corporations that we want to honor tonight. The first up is Gringos. Gringos has been a supporter of the LaPorte Education Foundation's annual golf tournament for almost 20 years. Gringos has also been a supporter of our Breakfast with the Stars event. When we started planning for our 30th anniversary gala, we knew we wanted to have Mr. Russell Ibarra involved with the gala because of his deep ties to LaPorte ISD and the LaPorte Education Foundation. And we were right in thinking this. He gave a wonderful keynote speech at the gala that inspired everyone in the audience. We want to say thank you to Mr. Ibarra for being the keynote speaker also, and Gringos for their continued support of the LaPorte Education Foundation. We want to thank them for being a Phantom of the Opera sponsor of the gala. And right now, on behalf of Gringos, Mr. Danny Hanks is going to accept. corporation that we want to honor is LyondellBasell. LyondellBasell has been a supporter of LaPorte Education Foundation for 30 years. In fact, they were one of the founding organizations to help found the LaPorte Education Foundation. Since that time, LyondellBasell has been an annual partner of the LaPorte Education Foundation, helping to support innovative grants for teachers. LyondellBasell is also a supporter of the Breakfast with the Stars and our annual golf tournament. When we decided to hold the gala, we were a little nervous. We were like, would people come? Would they come to Galveston? Work out? But all those fears were calmed when one of the first emails I received for sponsorship was Lisa Dykeman from LyondellBasell saying that they wanted to sponsor as a Phantom of the Opera. We were so honored. We want to thank LyondellBasell for being a Phantom of the Opera sponsor and for their continued support of the LaPorte Education Foundation. Thank you.
And that concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
All right, we will resume here with item 6, public comment. The board will now hear those who wish to make comment or who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Ms. Thompson, do we have any?
Well, we don't have much public left, and we don't have any public comments.
All right. So we'll move on to item 7, public hearing of district's financial integrity rating system for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. And we'll open this, we'll open this public hearing at 7:42.
I'm sorry, I put it on here and now I can't, is it? No, is it, are you? I'm sorry, I have it.
Okay, because what we can do,
Yeah.
we can come back to it if you need to get back.
No, I have the, they changed the laptop. What happens when you are prepared? When something changes. Oh, you're gonna, okay, perfect. Yeah. I got it. Okay, thank you.
Technology's wonderful. There it is, sir.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to review the Schools First rating to the public and to the board as required by law. So what is Schools First? So this is a TA's assessment of our financial integrity rating system of Texas. The primary goal of the Schools First is to achieve the quality, performance, and the management of each school district's financial resources. It was adopted during the 1990 legislature and implemented a few years later beginning with the 2001, 2002 fiscal year. And they did make a couple of changes in fiscal year 2007 and 2014. So the objectives of the Schools First is to assess the quality of the financial management in Texas public schools, and to fairly evaluate the quality of the financial management decisions, and to compare us to other school districts. And to also, we have to openly report the results to the general public on an annual basis. So the ratings, there are 20 indicators, so 17 that are scored and 3 that are currently not scored that they're holding for future resources. So to pass, a district must receive a score of 70 or higher, and they have to answer yes to the first four indicators. So out of 100, LaPorte received a 94 this year. Again, this is for the 2021, so 22, 23 financial ratings. It's based on the 21, 22 audit. Okay? So our previous ratings, LaPorte has always been at the highest rating group. They've changed the different rating groups. So from 2001 to 2014, we had superior, and in 2015 they changed it to a pass-fail. We passed. In 2016 to 2023, we received an A, superior achievement. So as we look, this is going to tell us our 2022-23 rating counts for all the districts. So there's over 1,000 school districts in Texas, so 919, 90%. Scored an A, and then 50 scored a B, 41 C, and 8 an F. And out of those Fs, the main reason that they failed was they did not get a yes on the 4 indicators that we're going to go over. They missed one of those, and if you miss one of those, you're out. So here are their indicators. Again, this is based on the 21-22 fiscal audit. So the first one, did we complete the annual financial report, which is the AFR, and was the data submitted to the TEA within the 30 days of our November 27th deadline? Yes. Report was given to TEA on November 11th last year. Was there unmodified opinion on the effort, on the financial statements as a whole? Yes. Was the school district in compliance with the payment of all of our debt agreements at the end of the year? Yes, our district has never defaulted on any debt obligations. Did the school district make our timely payments to our TRS, our workforce, Texas Workforce Commission, to our IRS, or all? And yes, we always make our payments, they're always submitted timely. Number 5 is no longer scored. So again, these are the 4 you have to make a yes on, or otherwise you automatically fail. So we go on to 6. Was the average change in the fund balances over 3 years less than 25% decrease, or did the current year's fund balance exceed 75%? So we passed that one, yes. We had, ours was 16%, so that's less than 25, and it exceeded 75 days. Number 7 was the number of days of cash on hand and current investments in the general fund sufficient to cover operating. Yes, we had 167 days, so we were greater than the 90. So we got a 10, perfect score on that one. Was the measure of current assets to current liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover our short-term debt? Yes, we got a 10 on that one. So our ratio was less than with a 4.0 that they asked or required. Number 9, did the school district's general fund revenues equal or exceed expenditures? And if not, was the school district's number of days of cash on hand greater? We again got a perfect score on that. Yes, we had revenues of 130.6, exceeded our expenditures of 126.3, and we had 167 days on cash on hand. 10 is again another indicator that's not scored right now. 11 was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets sufficient to support our long-term solvency. So on that one, out of a 10, we got a 4, and the district's ratio was 0.810. 12 was the debt per 100 of assessed property value ratio sufficient to support our future debt payments? Yes, 10. Ours is a 2.7, and you needed to have a 4, or less than a 4. So that means that we have enough revenue to cover our debt payments in the future. Number 13 was the school district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold ratio? Yes, we scored perfect 10 on that one. So we fall within the $5,999 9,999 students, so ours was below that threshold. 14 and 15 are not scored. 16 did the comparison of the PEMS data to the information in our AFR, our annual financial report, result in a variance of less than 3% of all expenditures by function. Yes, we had a 0% variance. And did the independent auditor report that the AFR was free of any instances of material weaknesses in internal controls or over financial reporting? And we passed that one. There were no instances. Number 18, did the independent auditor indicate the AFR was free of any instances of material noncompliances for grants, contracts, and laws? Again, a score of 10, he found none, or they found none. Number 19, did the district post the required financial information on the website in accordance with the statute? The highest you could score was 5 on that. We scored a 5, so yes, we did that. And the last one, did the school board members discuss the district's property values at the board meeting within 120 days of adopting our budget? And yes, we did. So we scored 94 out of 100, and so for 21 years, we have had the highest rating on our schools first. Are there any questions?
I have a question on the item where we scored a 4. Can you explain that? Because I want to say last year our first rating was a 96, if my memory serves me.
Yes, ma'am. So last year our, I have our last year was a 96, then a 94, a 90, and a 92, and it's always this one that we don't score a perfect score on. And a lot of it it's due to our enrollment, because they take different pieces of information. And so if our enrollment is kind of going up and down, it puts that into the calculation and figures out, do we, based on where we stand, do we have enough to cover what our assets are, our long-term assets? And we do. It's just that, this is the one that would help us greatly if we had a little more assistance.
So is there a certain criteria in that particular category for, say, a district our size compared to
I can look into that.
12,000?
I can look in that to see, because it will, but see, their assets are going to be higher and their liabilities are most likely to be higher. So it's a ratio between a few different factors. And so, but I'd be happy to look and see and give you that information. I can look at different districts. You can look at every district on the TU's website.
I'm just kind of throwing out there, is it based on maybe the amounts of the bond that we've passed over the years?
Well, this one was, remember, in 21, 22, so
right,
this
so
was
be
prior
2014,
to.
but
Right.
before that, 2014.
We did, yes. So that bond information would be, those calculations would be a part of that, yes, sir. But not the new bond.
So you're saying it looks at the assets that we have and the long-term liability payments that we have, and it factors in enrollment at the same point in time.
Right, it does a calculation, and I'll be happy to send that to you tomorrow morning, so y'all can see that.
Which 21, 22, our enrollment was low, right? So
Lower than it is now.
yes, it's lower than it is now.
Are there any other questions I can answer?
No.
Okay.
A 94 is great. I just wondered how we lost 2 points. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.
The board will now hear public comments on our first rating. Okay, see no public comments. Any further discussion? All right. This hearing is closed at 7:53. We will now move on to action item 8, our administrative reports. Dr. Jackson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, you have a copy of the superintendent's report. Normally, I would read that, but you have it, and we have a couple of presentations tonight that, if you will excuse me from that, I think would be valuable for us to hear tonight. So I'll beg of you to just allow me to just share it with you tonight, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll now move to item B here, Raise Your Hand Texas Board Advocacy. Ms. Thompson here had advocated on bringing in the Raise Your Hand Texas Board Advocacy Group. And we will hear from Jackson Griffin. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, Board, I know that we're all champions for the 5.5 million children in Texas public education. I'm very excited that Jackson Griffin is with us this evening from Raise Your Hand, Texas, and he's going to speak to us on our advocacy efforts. I know that we all try to make our voices heard to our representatives in Austin, to remind them how their decisions affect what happens to us, to our students, our teachers, and our community. And I'm hopeful that he can shed some light for us on ways that we can be more efficient in our efforts of advocacy.
Thank you, Ms.
Yes.
Well, thank you all, and good evening to our distinguished trustees on the board. I'm thankful for this opportunity to present to you all tonight. It seems like I picked a really great board meeting to partake in. I enjoyed all the recognitions earlier. But yeah, again, my name is Jackson Griffin. I am the East Houston Gulf Coast Regional Advocacy Director for a company called Raise Your Hand, Texas. Raise Your Hand, Texas is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that is based out of Austin, Texas. So our headquarters is actually right across the street from the Capitol. We have field directors all throughout the state. Actually, there's 12 of us now, including myself. And so I am based out of North Galveston County, more specifically Friendswood. My wife and I live there, is where I grew up, so I know this area well. And the rest of my region goes from, all the way over to, the Texas-Louisiana border, friends over, along the East Coast, all the way down that coastline to Port Lavaca, and then the I-45 corridor, Galveston, all the way up to Humboldt ISD. So it's a large territory, but I feel blessed to do the work that I do and get to serve the communities and the ISDs that I do, including LaPorte. We at Raise Your Hand, we specialize in advocacy efforts that promote positive policy initiatives that support public education in the state of Texas is ultimately our goal. Just to credential myself, real quick, I found my way to this work by serving as a legislative director for 3 sessions at the Capitol. I worked for 2 different state reps. One of them was Phil Stevenson. Representative Stevenson was out of Fort Bend County. And then the other member was Wayne Faircloth, who was our Galveston representative. It was 3 legislative sessions where I got, a lot of institutional knowledge on how the process works. And, my passion point has always been public education policy. So part of my mission as a regional advocacy director is to work with community leaders and industry partners such as yourself to establish a coalition of support around our local public ISDs. I'd like to state that Dr. Jackson and I know each other well, and we've worked together closely since I started working at Raise Your Hand, Texas. And in our first meeting, we wanted to identify the needs and demands of LaPorte ISD in order to engage residents and provide the resources necessary for community engagement and outreach from a legislative perspective. Dr. Jackson and I, through our meetings and work that we've done, I think we share a similar perspective on some of the legislative needs for public education, and that's not solely based on the fact that we share a common name. We just have some knowledge I know through his work with Raise Your Hand Texas and some of the programs that he's been a part of, understands that infrastructure, understands the systems in place at the state level, and so I'm grateful to have him as a partner with Raise Your Hand Texas, and I have to say I think y'all are lucky at LaPorte ISD to have Dr. Jackson serving your community and working with you. Okay, so for time's sake, I'm gonna go to just our 4 main initiatives that we focus on. What are our policy lanes? What are the issues that we're really going to focus on each and every legislative session? So the first one, we want to support our teachers in any way that we can. I think the biggest component of that is fully funding education in a way that allows teachers to have a sustainable and meaningful salary increase that gives them a greater incentive to continue to do the work that they do. We also want to invest in our students as well, and our legislative recommendation that we propose is to create a more dynamic funding formula for the basic incentive allotment that adjusts for inflation. I'm sure y'all see this, the templates all the time. I know I have them for a lot of the ISDs within our greater Houston and kind of Bay Area coastal communities. But that is something that the legislature just quite frankly has not looked at doing, successfully implemented in a bill that passed out, and it's high time that we start to adjust for inflation just like everybody else does in the business community. We also have our Measure What Matters campaign, which is, based around the 8th accountability system. That's a campaign that we worked on in the year prior to the 88th legislative session, something that we really put a lot of effort into. And it's pretty much based around the fact that we want to include more indicators to the current accountability system than what we have now, to make it a more comprehensive look, instead of just having so much weight put on one test, one day out of the year for our elementary and intermediate levels. And last but not least, the big topic of debate right now, and what is the 4th special session and was the 3rd special session that was called by the governor. For us, vouchers are not the answer. We do not believe vouchers is the way forward. And the way I like to just sum it up in short is, considering our public education system is already critically underfunded when you look at it from a national perspective. We cannot afford to take money allocated to public schools away from them to use for, private school means. Is just not the answer. So ultimately, I'm sure all of you are aware that the Texas legislature is currently in their 4th special session called by the governor. A fun fact, this is the first time in the history of the Texas legislature that a governor has called 4 special sessions within the same calendar year of the regular session. So I've worked in this field for a while, and I'm starting to lose track. I'll say that. That's not the way the Texas legislature typically operates. This special and the last one were the main focus was oriented around implementing a voucher program in the state of Texas, which did not pass during the regular session. It did not pass last session. There has not been any kind of understanding between the Senate and the House where they felt comfortable with any proposed legislation. There hasn't been a consensus on that, and as of right now, I'm not sure if I feel confident that they're going to come to a consensus in this 4th session from what we currently know. This is a great time. This is, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of unprecedented when it comes to, again, we're in our 4th special session. Education is at the forefront of that. It's really mainly about what's going on in our public education system. So it's a great time for civic engagement. I encourage everyone in attendance tonight, or anyone who's watching, if y'all do a live stream, to reach out to the elected officials that represent this area, to your state rep, to your state senator, regarding the issue of vouchers. It's something that at Raise Your Hand Texas, we want to strongly encourage and provide the resources necessary for the board to work with us, and then for your constituents to work with us as well, in having what they need to advocate for themselves, to use their voice, to stand up for Porte ISD, and hold our elected officials accountable on the votes that they make that directly influence, the school district. So allow me to be a resource to the board and to your community, and Raise Your Hand Texas to be a resource. We have, kind of different, a lot of different ways that you can utilize us. This is our, picture of our statewide regional advocacy directors team that we have. We have our Across the Lawn newsletter updates that are, come frequently, usually on a weekly basis, especially now with all the special sessions being called. Our policy papers, one-pagers that just kind of give you a snapshot, explain what's going on, and really get into the weeds and details of the legislation that's proposed. Our Charles Butt Foundation, our partner organization, they have different polls that they put out that especially around teacher workforce reports. So you can follow us on social media. We're on all the major social media platforms. Our website is just raiseyourhandtexas.com. And I'm happy to provide my contact information for y'all if you want to email me. I have my cell phone on there. Call me with questions. We're a multifaceted organization, and the work, I'm glad to be on the ground doing the groundwork, but we have a lot of resources, a policy team that is and a GR team that works very closely with the staffs at the Capitol, that work very closely with the state representatives and state senators themselves. And so if y'all have any questions that I can't answer tonight, or that just come up as this situation is very fluid, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk to our policy director and get those questions for y'all. But ultimately, again, I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you all for this, and if you have any questions, I'll open it up.
Are y'all having an event on Friday? Is that what I read? Is there an event on Friday? Ahead of this
At the Capitol, so yeah, they're, right now, it's, like I said, it's very fluid, and we're kind of trying to figure out the exact timeline of when they're going to vote HB1 and HB2 that passed out of the Select Education Committee, you know, out of the House, and I'll be honest, there's, I think, still a lot that could happen to that bill before it moves. Just in my personal opinion, I don't see it moving out of the House in the current state that it is right now, with all the different, you know, add-ons that they've proposed during the Select Committee. I've honestly been running around. I've been super busy these last 2 days, and so I can get back to you on that. We might be having, or there might be kind of some other organizations that are coming together to do like a joint rally. But we definitely encourage everyone to, you know, travel to Austin, and I'd be happy. I've done that before, where I could do tours of offices. I, you know, can take you directly to Representative, I believe Kane, or Representative Paul, depending on, you know, where you live, and where you live, or Senator Middleton's office, or I guess maybe y'all have Creighton, or I think Middleton is, Middleton's here.
Middleton.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, I mean, we can do, you know, set up an office visit, and and have that for y'all, and so anytime you'd like to be more engaged, like I mentioned earlier, our office is located right across the street from the Capitol. We have a 10th floor space that is at y'all's disposal. I just have to, you know, sign up a time, and if y'all need to come and kind of rest or get organized there, we'd be happy to do that and provide that for you. But as far as an actual event, I'm not 100% sure if it's just a raise your hand. I don't believe we have just a raise your hand Texas event. Unless they forgot to, you know, loop me in.
Is anybody else?
Jackson, first of all, thank you for the work y'all are doing or trying to do. We hear a lot about all the frustration things that we want the state to do. You know, not a lot of it's happening right now. Can you tell me, like, can you give us like a win, like something you're proud of in your tenure that Raise Your Hand Texas has been able to help like push through?
Yes.
A, and then B, like, more loaded question. It seems so difficult we're like fighting for crumbs, whereas like municipalities and others seem to have their lobbyists and get a lot more done.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts on like why it's so hard to get people to focus on public education here in Texas.
That's a great question, and I think there's a lot of different kind of nuances to that. I'm actually going to go back to my prior work experience in the Capitol, because I knew about Raise Your Hand Texas before I started working for them as a regional advocacy director, and they were able to, in the second session that I worked, there was a bill proposing, I believe it was, I don't remember if it was Senator Taylor, but it was to fully fund preschool or pre-K.
All-day pre-K.
That's right, all-day pre-K. That was not getting a lot of traction. Didn't seem to have the support and the movement it needed, and Raise Your Hand Texas came in and did, and I will say, I think they've, Raise Your Hand, that we've really grown out our grassroots effort, which is a big part of getting people to really understand what education's up against, and it's, I'll be quite frank, in my 3 sessions, 6 years that I was up at the Capitol, I think it's progressively, public education is under, I mean, I don't know if I want to use the word attack, but I mean, it's yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and I think outside influence that's really trying to kind of hamstring our public education system as a whole. And so that was one example. They were able to, through grassroots campaigning, they went office to office. Again, like I said, I was a legislative director at the time, so they came in, they had a fancy display, and then they gave everybody these yo-yos with these this branding on it. And through all the work that they did, a little bit of lobbying was involved, but a lot of it was mainly people calling, sending us letters, emails, and just constantly reaching out. I mean, we were able to get full day, pre-K funding, or they were, I should say at the time, I wasn't with them yet, but they were able to get the pre-K funding. I'm trying to think of they had another huge win in the session before I came on board. It was a 3-legged stool. It was funding. That's right. We had, money. Y'all know how it goes, where you have money, federal money that's allocated to the state level. Then you got to go down the chain, right? Well, for some reason, our legislators in Austin, after receiving that money that was meant for our school districts, felt that school districts might not, know the best way to allocate that money.
nice of them.
I can't do the mental gymnastics to figure that one out. But, yeah, Raise Your Hand Texas again came in. They had this really elaborate campaign that they did, a lot of grassroots efforts, a lot of calls, a lot of, emails. And quickly, I do want to stress that advocacy, when done correctly and when it's a strategic outreach, is so effective. I mean, I was on the other end. I was the guy that was answering those calls, that was meeting with people that were coming to the Capitol and just wanting to engage with legislative staff and their legislator. And that stuff, I mean, it might not feel like it at the time, or, you might feel like it's small potatoes and that there's too much going on. But truly, when enough people, move on an issue with a state representative, if you guys, were to unite and go present something to Dennis Paul, Representative Paul, or Representative Kane, and there's enough pressure associated with that from a grassroots level, it makes a difference. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen firsthand. Minds being changed and the right kind of pressure applied. So I just want to put that on record and stress that I've now seen it from both sides of the aisle. Right, I'm a part of this work now, and then I used to just be on the other side, receiving those advocacy efforts and engaged in that way. And it's, especially at the local level, a state rep, a state senator, you can get through to them, and they're just like everybody else, right? You might see them at church or Little League or something like that. And so it's important to I think, hold our elected officials accountable through these measures and to present a united front that gives them encouragement. We don't want to always come back, from a state of trying to lambast them for something that they didn't do, but also pick them up and encourage them when they do something that is supportive for LaPorte, ISD, so that they know when those tough votes come down the line that y'all have their back. But yeah, it was a stimulus funding that wasn't going to be allocated to our school districts, and Raise Your Hand Texas was kind of the lead. I want to say the lead organization on getting that done with some help from some other ones. But the campaign and the movement that they had, it ultimately worked out, and the Texas legislature released the funds that were meant to be allocated to our public schools. So those are just two examples. But this last session, admittedly, and from my perspective of working there, you have to take the little things, because you're just never going to get everything that you want, but there's no reason to not keep fighting for those initiatives and those policy recommendations that you prefer. But I would, again, from my perspective, the fact that vouchers, with the pressure that was put on the Texas House, I'll be quite frank, specifically Republican elected officials, Republican House members, the fact that we had a coalition that did not budge because they were supported by their communities, that really stood against vouchers. That typically doesn't happen. Whenever there's a priority item from the governor, most of the time those go through, and in this case it hasn't, because of some of the advocacy efforts that are taking place. So I consider that the biggest win of this now year-long, regular special session that we've had. Vouchers has not passed yet, and we're going to continue to engage in that fight to make sure it doesn't pass.
Do you think an email is more effective or a phone call from your perspective of having worked in those offices?
So I would say they both work. They're both very effective. Can be very effective. A call goes a long way, especially when you're, and I would expect everybody in this room, would be professional and courteous and be able to just highlight the points of why voucher legislation is not the correct solution for parental choice, or for mobility within for the 5.5 million kids that are currently going to public school. I think a call is a little bit more effective when done correctly. We used to kind of get the ones where you gotta just yell in your ear, you gotta hang it up. But no, for the most part, either one's great. So one of the things that we do, it's our call to action, and it's really easy to sign up. I can do a follow-up email with y'all just so that you have that link. But we put you in our system, and it's not something that you're going to get constantly bombarded by emails or anything like that. It's just a simple when we do a call to action, and there's movement, out of committee, or there's a bill that's coming up, for example, like now the voucher legislation comes up on the House floor, the Senate floor, we provide a template that you can either go in and change yourself and have your own words, that you would like to use to, describe your disdain for this legislation or support for it, depending on what it is, or it's a automated, it's a template message. We've gotten, actually, I think I have a graphic here. Our call to action responses during this last, the 88th regular session, we had over, or close to 44,000 legislator contacts. Some of those districts, I had, for example, Speaker Phelan's district, I think we had like 1,500, 2,000 people reach out, and I'm telling you, as someone who used to be on the other end of that, there's conversations being had when something like that takes place. So that's one resource that we can provide, again, to y'all's community, to your board, directly to our administrators in the school district for them to utilize. I send those out. So emails, those automated templates that we have, and then I would say calls are probably the most effective, but all of them, anything that you can do is helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all. Appreciate everything y'all do.
We'll now hear our business and finance update. Sit down.
Okay, so hello again.
Long time to see.
Yeah, long time no see, yes. So I'm going to take a moment to provide a business and finance update this evening. We are going to talk about our PEMS and snapshot date that just happened, and then also going to carry on with what Mr. Griffin was talking about, the legislative update for special session number 4. So PEMS snapshot date. So what PEMS stands for is our Public Education Information Management System. So that is all of our student demographics, our academic performances, personnel data, financial, budget, and actual, and then also our attendance. So there are 11 submissions throughout the year of data. Used to be 4, now it's 11. So it's a big job. So our fall snapshot day, it was the last Friday of October, so October 27th for all districts in the state of Texas. And that date, all the data on that date of all the students that were served, the types of students that were served, and all the staff that was employed on October 27th is reported in our PEMS fall submission. And so that snapshot is taken pretty much for everybody, for every district in the state of Texas. And so it combines over 100 points of data, and it puts it into summary tables, and it gives you information so you can compare yourself to previous years, but also to other districts. So on our snapshot date, our enrollment for the entire district was 7,120, and then our high school was at 2,249. So this is an example of what, this is last year's snapshot. So this is just a good piece of information. There's 2 different pages to it. But as you see, it's our student data, the different types, attendance, grading scores for STAR, different college admissions, and then you go into our staff information, the type of teachers we have. So it is, and then you have our financials on the bottom. A ton of wonderful information. Are there any questions before we move on to the legislation? I know it's going to quick and dirty, but PEMS is a big thing.
I'm trying to read, what was our attendance for the district on the snapshot last year as a district?
Let's look on here.
It's hard to see in there.
Yes.
That's a lag, that's a year lag.
Oh, yeah, that was our attendance rate. You were asking for the actual attendance number.
District enrollment.
Our enrollment.
5,000 or 6,925, top of students in blue.
I know. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
6925, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's in the blue header there at the very top.
And as far as the high school enrollment, UIL, does UIL use the snapshot?
Yes.
With that, and what's the cutoff right now?
They haven't given it to us, but
Based on last, it was 2 years ago, where when
yeah,
they,
it was 2250 prior for the last.
one.
We don't know what it's going to be this year.
2248.
2248.
We hope not, right?
We're just
We hope
hoping
not.
we're still 5A and not 6A. I know that's what you're having.
Yeah.
We think we're out there.
So I'm sure we will discuss PIMS later throughout the year, but this was just a highlight of here's what snapshot is, because I know y'all heard that word, and what that really means.
And how many people does it take to compile all of this data? Because this is a lot of data.
Right, so we have a PIMS coordinator, and then we have a PIMS administrator, like an assistant. They're in my department, and they're great. And all of our assistant principals, our counselors, our registrars, our attendance clerks, there are at least 3 to 4 people on each campus that it is their job to input this data, and then that data then gets come over to us, and we scrub it up and clean it up, and so that's what we're actually doing right now, because we're trying to get our first fall submission in by this Friday before Thanksgiving. It's due on the 30th, but I like
Be ahead.
I always am ahead. And so we are down to 4 fatals, and so we're like, and we know what they are, we just have to figure out how to fix them. So, yeah, but it's a lot of work. It is a big job, but it's data, and I love this kind of stuff.
And so Stacy, help me remind the board, the PIMS data that we submit on that last Friday in October, this is how the state determines how much funding we
That's
receive.
exact.
So it's very, very critical that we get it right and that it's accurate and that,
Yes,
this is how the state funds the school system. Whatever the state gives us, it's based off of those numbers.
Yes, and thank you for saying that. And you're exactly right. So what they take our fall submission, and then they use that to figure out what our preliminary, remember when I showed y'all last month the preliminary, and how we have all these preliminary summary of finances all through the year, and then we finally get a final. So they use the summer, so they give us our preliminary amounts based on this information right here, all throughout the year, and then when we put our summer submission, which is in the summertime, they'll use that, because that looks at everything that actually happened throughout the year.
And that's when they do.
And that's when they settle up, yes ma'am, that's when they do the settle up.
Also what they use for testing too, right? The kids you have on snapshot date.
That's the kids that will be determined on this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So is this all self-reported data? Like, does the state audit, like,
Yes,
average
they do.
daily attendance? How do they audit that?
Well, actually, our auditors come in, and that's something that they look at. But yes, we can absolutely be audited. And every submission that goes through, it goes through, at first we report it to Region 4. And then we report it from there, we report it over to TTA. And so then they can, TAs, it's not a huge operation. And so, it's just a company just like we, so it's big, but it's not that big. So they rely on our auditors, because that is something that they look at. They go through and they look and see, they test our attendance. Are we taking attendance correctly? Do we have there's certain things that we have to have at each campus, like an attendance box, I think it's called, and we can be audited anytime for that.
Yep.
And so that's something auditors come in and they sample it all. They sample all different things, and then that's something that we could get written up on. So yeah, there are ways to there's controls put in place to make sure that we are reporting correctly, and that other districts are reporting correctly.
Something else, I'm aware of another district, sorry. It affects our UIL eligibility. If you are not accurate on it, it could cause you to be disqualified.
Absolutely.
So it's very important.
And it happens.
For athletes.
It does happen. Any other questions I can answer on the PIMS side before we move on? Okay. So our legislative update. As you all know, the 88th legislature regular session started January 10th and it ran through May 29th. Special session number 1 came and went through May 29th through June 27th. Then number 2 started that day on the June 27th, went through July 13th. Then they took a little break, and October 9th they started special session number 3 that then just ended November 7th, and again, nothing happened. So November 7th, they started special session number 4, and it will last until the legislation's passed or for 30 days. So that is 222 days total of no public funding legislation passed. So I just wanted to let you know. And who's counting?
We're gonna call
Who, you're gonna call them, yeah.
I called them this morning. I called 4 people this morning. Yeah, I got an answer at every place.
That's not that caller ID.
Right.
Okay, so let's just kind of talk about, I know we all learned this back in high school, but here's how we have our 2 political parties. We have our House of Representatives, that's made up of 150 legislatures, so 86 Republicans, 64 Democrats right now. And our Senate is 31 senators of 18 Republicans, 13 Democrats. So how do we pass a bill? And I'm not going to go through it, but I'm a visual, and this helps me, which kind of explains why, it is taking a while, because we do have vouchers out there, and they're not, we're at a standstill. Or we're not, they are at a standstill. So as you can see, like the House has their House Bill 1, Senate has their Senate Bill 1. They have to go through their committees, and then if it's voted through the committee, then they debate it on the floor, and then it's sent over to the other side. And then it has to go through all of that again before it finally gets to the governor, and the governor says yes or no. So, it's not an overnight process, but it's also not a 222-day process. Doesn't have to be. So, what are the difference here? So I just kind of put a little bullet point. So our Senate Bill 1 is our vouchers, and Senate Bill 2 is school funding. So right now that's passed in the Senate, and it's heading to the House for discussion. So that is the one that's the $8,000 for the education savings account, which is our vouchers. We're no STAR testing. Teacher retention bonus of $3,000 for the year for this current year, and then they say that they're going to give us allotment to continue to fund that. We'll see if that passed. Basic allotment would only increase by $75. And school safety would be $30,000 per campus, so that would be $390,000 for us. So House Bill 1 is vouchers and school funding, and then House Bill 2 is our safety. So that was voted out of that committee, and it's going to be discussed in full this week at the House. So that's $10,400 of education savings. So that's more for vouchers. But they also have to take a state assessment, which is the STAR. And if they fail it after 2 years, then they're no longer eligible. There's a one-time retention stipend of $4,000, and the basic allotment would raise $540, but in 24-25, so nothing would happen this year. And school safety is where this would be really helpful for us, because we would, depending on the enrollment at your campus, is how much money you would get for that campus. So for us, we would get approximately about $1 million. We need that.
Yes.
So there's a quick and dirty of what's happening, and it's changing daily. They are meeting, they are talking, but is there any questions that I can ask?
Is that a one?
Thanks for this comparison.
Is that a one-time $1 million, or would that be a renegotiated every year?
That it would be an allotment, but again, until it passes, you really don't know what you get.
Right. Anybody else?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
We'll now move on to D, bond and safety update by Dr. Bromley.
Good evening. Hopefully mine's not here. Where'd all our presentations go?
I know. Mess with it.
Okay, good evening, President Hanks, Board of Trustees, Dr. Jackson, here for our monthly update and all things bond and all things safety here at LaPorte ISD. We're back off and running, so long as we don't have rain, right? So pray to the rain gods. At once we wanted rain, and now I don't want it, so it's got to stay away so we can get to work. But tonight, just kind of wanted to give you a visual of where we were and kind of what's happening out there on site with the Bulldog Stadium and Development Center. You kind of have a map here, and I just threw this together, so forgive me for my squiggly lines and all things that you see there. But what you're starting to see is we're still going through the phase of the groundwork. So there's utilities that are being laid, the sanitary lines, and we're putting the detention in. The south tank, which is located there in the junior lot by the field house, it's wrapping up. So the furthest south point of it is almost complete. You see the tarp on it, and I'll show you some pictures here in a second. But they're kind of wrapping up the northern part of that. So that is going to be fully functional once it gets done, which means it's active, and when it rains, it's going to do its job as it goes. You'll start to see more of the movement in the north there. That's the larger tank that will go in. You'll see some of the modular pieces there in the middle of the field, or the old field there. And remember, that's a modular design, so it's an underground detention system, much like we have next to us here at the admin building. It's just underground, so it does the same type of job. It gives time, and it controls, per se, the water and the flooding. You see that dirt there, that's kind of the outline pretty much of what the development center looks like and where it's going to sit. So it just kind of gives you a visual. But there's a lot going on by way of foundations and different pours happening on that. We've got concrete work starting every day. This is a picture here of that south tank, and you can see that outline. So the furthest south point is pretty much wrapped up, and then you can see they're working towards the field house there. And I took that today of those gentlemen out there, so you can kind of see that work. Just some pictures of the foundation. So the concrete again is starting. They're going to get all those foundations poured, and then that's when the concrete steel structures will start coming in, and those will attach to that concrete work that you see happening out there in the dirt work. And then there's some pictures of the sanitary line. So we've got to get everything underneath done, so then you can start to cover that up, and then you'll start to see things start to pop up. Any questions on field house, development center?
Why are they using that restroom? Is that what we're holding on to it? The concession stand restroom that's not been torn down yet? It's electricity.
Yeah, there's some utility things in there that we're trying to hang on to some of that, and there's some power issues that we're working through. Safety, we've been getting after it. There's a lot of fencing going on. We've completed a lot of projects that we started really going back to over the summer. Our district access standard, I kind of talked about this last month, pertaining to every campus now. When you walk to one of our facilities, every one of them have the Ring camera. You cannot gain access without one of our front office staff ringing you in or buzzing you into the facility. Then you come in, and there's a part 2 to that. So we're very proud of that. That is off and completed. Technology and their team really helped us out on getting that done. Perimeter fencing, LaPorte Elementary, LaPorte Junior High is all done. There's one little piece at LaPorte Junior High in the very front where the colorful bulldog is. It sits on Broadway. We're actually putting fence there. They're just going to come back and get that done. They're going to start at Rizzuto. We'll be moving there, and they wrapped up Jenny Reed, excuse me. And then they're starting at Rizzuto. We'll move from there to College Park and Heritage. So that's kind of the process as we go there. So a lot happening. I think the fence looks really good. It's a good-looking fence. It's 8 foot. It's per the standard that the state has put in front of us. So we're excited again to get that up. Security-resistant film throughout the district. It's complete of all the projects that we had in place. Remember, not all the campuses got it building-wide because we put fence up. So if we put fence up in areas, we didn't put the film up because it defeats the purpose, right? So some got more film, others got more fence, just depending on the pricing. For instance, Bayshore is a great example. We filmed the entire Bayshore facility because the fencing it's just absolutely outrageous to totally take that down. And that fence was put up, I think, in the 14 bond, so it's recent fence. And then the wearable panic badges, so that's been going and off and running. We plan to have those badges distributed to staff members when we return from Christmas. We're excited about that. When we do that, we'll be removing the panic button that we have on our phone systems, and it'll be now the wearable piece. So that's a helpful thing because we've been wearing out the panic buttons. They know. Holidays, we're going to get to work. We are hopeful that we'll start our playground installation at LaPorte Elementary, Rizzuto, and College Park. So those will be some good projects that are happening. We're going to start a project at College Park in the library. We're going to tear down some walls, expand that space. There will be some painting at Lomax Junior High School and a couple other campuses. We're waiting on some bids on that. And then some concrete work. We've got some work that we're doing, especially with Ralph's team and the entry points of the kitchens. We've got some areas that are some safety concerns that we'll be working on. Pleased to note that we're expecting our bus replacement cycle. Now, this isn't the one you approved here in August. It's the one that you approved a couple years ago, right? I don't even think I worked here when you did that. Just kidding. But we will get those 8 buses. That's big for us. The timeline on those are just crazy. So we're excited to get that first haul of buses in here to get those on the road and running. And then our next plan, bond oversight committee meeting is December 11th here at the board room. Any questions? Oh, and Lomax, real quick. Lomax, while this is old bond per se, reallocated funds, Lomax Junior High is off and running. So they're scraping the track over there. Remember, we're putting a complete D-ring for the high jump area, pole vaulting, and the long jump and triple jump. So it kind of gives you a map of what that's going to look like. It's a complete track resurface rebuild. We are hoping to get that done.
And additional lanes, am I correct?
Well, it's at 6. I think they have 6 now, so it matches that. But it makes a competition level to a point where they can come and get everything they need to be able to compete. We do have a backup plan in case it doesn't get done after Christmas with Bonnet Junior High School in Deer Park. So we've worked that out just in case they can go and use that facility. So no time lost there. Questions there on any of that?
On the playground, just a follow-up about my question last time about the playgrounds. Have you had an opportunity to take a look at, what they call the boundless playgrounds as far as being feasible, for students with disabilities and
Yes,
maybe
and
implement some of that into our
We
playgrounds?
are, and even specifically at CPE at College Park, we have a student who's wheelchair bound. So we're pouring concrete out to that site, and all that will be laid out specifically for that kid in reference, but any future kid for those pieces.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Bromley, on the picture on your screen right now, is that, I can't, is that LaPorte Elementary or what's going on?
That is, yeah, that's LPE right there.
So, that's an example of the fencing right now, and it's kind of in my head, I'm thinking about, so that, it encompasses that external door. So will all the external doors be?
Not all of them. So what we have that's a challenge for us at a lot of our elementaries is we have detached gyms, right? So LPE, when I first got here talking with Principal Lawley, that was one of our concerns because the kids come out, they have to walk there, and obviously they're exposed. So that's some areas that you'll see some of that. LPJ in the back's also like that. Just we kind of targeted some of the areas that could be exposed for our kids and where they move. So not every one of them's that way, but a general good piece of them. Like Rizzuto will be the same, so we'll wrap, you'll see the vinyl fence come around, and when they get to the end there by the car rider gym part, we're gonna look that same fence, that iron rod's gonna come back in and close that in. So there's no movement. Kids should not, will not have to be outside without technically being fenced in.
Which I think that's a great way to do it. I guess my concern is, again, not to be overly dark, but Uvalde wasn't, I believe, where they had, the door was wedged open. Is that how the person got in?
Yeah, I believe there was a rock put in it.
If not all of our schools have this fencing and they have the film, which is a great thing as well.
Yep.
That's not gonna protect a door from somebody coming inside of it, if it's left open, for example.
No, I mean, if the door's left open, I don't know if we're stopping anybody per se.
Well, if you have the fence, they can't get through that fence.
Sure, but yes, generally speaking, but I would say that even the entry door would be exposed. On this facility, there's on the south side of the campus where the pre-K area is, it doesn't have that fence either. So I think it goes back to how we implement our practices and getting people, we really push, and even more so this year, on foot traffic, on what doors we use to exit as staff members, right? But yeah, that's a good question in a sense. I don't know if we can protect everything by way of human behavior, if that makes sense.
I absolutely, I
Yeah.
agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I just, again, I know it's never gonna be perfect, and I understand the financial restrictions, but we're small enough as, 13 campuses. I would hate to see one campus not get something because the cost is what we consider to be too high.
Yeah.
If this is the better option, why don't we have it for every campus?
Well, I think it's more about, I think you would fall in the line of the gray area of what is the best standard. Some could argue a 6-foot fence is just as capable as an 8-foot fence. But remember, a lot of this is driven by the expectation by the state to meet a standard. So you either have to have an 8-foot fence, right, or a 6-foot fence that's non-scalable. So we've thought even in some of those areas, putting up, you can put a windscreen on it, much like we have around our detention pond, and that's considered non-scalable. So we can absolutely go back and look at some of those areas. There's very few areas, so we can definitely go back and look to see if we can get that added in.
Thanks, sir.
Would you clarify, you mentioned the fencing at Rizzuto, so that currently there's that chain link fencing that goes around the backside where the track and
Right.
playground area and
Yep.
stuff is. So what type of fencing will be around
It's
there?
the vinyl look, the same you're seeing here at LPE on the outside. The black coated
Okay,
vinyl coating on it.
okay, thank you.
What's around the auxiliary field, that same look, 8 foot, it'll match that.
Okay.
When it comes to the gym itself, it'll turn into more of that. Right, the top corner,
Wrought iron.
the wrought iron fence.
Got it.
It's easier to place on the concrete.
Both are non-scalable is
Yes.
the whole point, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I know you had mentioned a video or graphic or walkthrough that you could do of the stadium. Is the board gonna see that? Are you?
No.
Okay, forget it.
Any other questions before I do the video?
Your PowerPoint ended, so I got nervous. I didn't know.
Got you right here. It's 7 minutes, so I'm gonna play it at 1.5 just so it speeds up just a little bit. It shouldn't give you too much nausea here. Hopefully the sound we got here. And I think Doc really wants to get together and talk more about what that looks like. So nothing's been necessarily decided per se.
Well,
Yeah.
the reason why, as I mentioned, it's been a while back when we were doing the Bulldog Center, is, you know, and since Terry Cook's in the audience, I'm gonna mention you did such a great job organizing the 100th anniversary of the school district, and you had all the those memorabilia, which I don't know how much of that kept or had been, you know, I'm sure that was lent and had to be returned, but just having some of the history of not just, you know, football or sports, but just the district in general, and having like letter jackets from different eras and things like that, and not having that kind of historical, you know, things like that from each of the decades of this school district. And so I know, Terry, you had so much of that on display at the 100th anniversary. If we can recapture that and keep it as a permanent display, if there's a possible location in that facility, that'd be great. You know, so
That's something we can definitely work on. I know outside we're going to have an area in the northeast of the facility that will have some outdoor stuff, but you're talking more inside, and that's for sure
inside.
something we can get done.
Okay, I want to say something loudly one more time, again, in public. Can we please have the same orange on everything? Can we establish what our orange is? And can it not be light orange and red orange and this orange and that orange? We need to be one orange. One team, one heartbeat, one orange.
One orange, got it.
Just not burnt orange.
Well, I like burnt orange, but no, we can't.
it was like it's like a number, some orange something, or
Adam has
No,
it.
I mean, I've said this multiple times throughout this whole bond process, like, we need to standardize this.
Absolutely.
Terry, we would like to have that memorabilia by
Okay,
tomorrow.
I'm holding you to
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Dr. I'm sorry.
Will that, the room upstairs at the field house where you see 500, will we have like luncheons and things there? Will have access to like a catering?
Absolutely. Yeah, it has a full function, yes,
Perfect.
all of that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's full go.
Really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
sir.
Brownlee.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to item 9, our consent agenda. A, determine and approve any consent agenda items. Approve board meeting minutes. 1, regular board meeting minutes, October 10th, 2023. C, receive principals report. 1, Early Childhood Center. 2, Bayshore Elementary. 3, College Park Elementary. 4, Heritage Elementary. 5, Jenny Reed Elementary. 6, Report Elementary. 7, Leo Rizzuto Elementary. 8, Lomax Elementary. 9, James H. Baker 6th grade campus. 10, LaPorte Junior High. 11, Lomax Junior High. 12, LaPorte High School. 13, DeWalt High School. D, receive financial reports for September 2023. E, receive human resources report. F, receive quality investment report. G, approve budget amendment. H, approve employment of professional staff. I, approve purchase of processing and disposal of chemicals found at former LPISD transportation facility. J, approve 2023-2024 district improvement plan and campus improvement plans. K, adopt a resolution number 2023-22 for series 2012 bond early redemption. L, adopt a resolution number 2023-23 for a committed fund balance. Anything? Can you read back the consent agenda?
Sure can. That would be item 9B1, C 1 through 13, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L.
Wonderful. Any discussion?
Russell's gonna be so mad we didn't pull anything when he wasn't here.
Any discussion?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
May I have a second? I got a second by Mr. Yana. Call for the vote. It is unanimous.
Wow.
Thank you, board. We'll move on to item 10, action and/or discussion items. A, approve annual comprehensive financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2023.
Yes, I'd like to bring up Patrick Simmons, who's our auditor from Whitley Penn, and he is going to do a presentation for us.
Thank you.
And we have a deadline to have this submitted, did you mention that
It's
earlier?
November 27th, but we've already got it drafted and ready, and tomorrow morning, we're pressing the button and it's gone. Go to 10.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Patrick Simmons. I'm with the audit firm Whitley Penn, and I'm here to go over the results of the financial statement audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Can you all see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick introduction first to our team. So myself, the audit partner for the engagement, and then we also had Cynthia Guerra and Kimberly Amaya as the associates in the field doing the detailed testing and out there almost every day. And then Jason Valenzuela, the senior manager on the engagement, and then Tom Peterson, he is a concurring partner, not necessarily on the team, but he's like a second set of eyes to the more complex areas, state aid calculation, review, and things like that. And so the purpose of the opinion is it's for us to review your financial statements and determine if, with reasonable assurance, if they're free from material misstatement. And so there's three types of opinions we can provide, and so there's a lot that goes into providing that opinion. And so first of all, we come out in the summertime, we meet with all the different departments, we test your internal controls, we report to y'all if those are operating as planned, and then we do a lot of federal compliance testing at that point as well. And so then we come back at year end after y'all close the books and you provide all your data to us, your trial balance, and we substantiate all those balances, focusing on the material balances first and then looking analytically at any outliers and looking for unusual things. And so all that goes into providing the opinion on the financial statements, and I'm happy to report that the district's receiving an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, so that's the highest level of assurance we can provide, a clean opinion, no internal control findings to report, no findings related to compliance. So a clean report there, and then we also issue a single audit report, and so this is, since you spend over $750,000 in federal funds each year, you're required to have a federal single audit, and so the major programs rotate each year as well, and so Title I Part A was selected this year, and then ESSER was also selected as that's deemed high risk by the feds. So I'm happy to report unmodified opinion on this as well, and no internal control findings for either program. And so that's all the good news. I could stop there, it's late, but I'll keep going. I got a few things there. Some of the areas we do meet with when we come out in the summertime, like Stacy mentioned, the attendance changes. So what we usually do there is we get a complete report of all the changes during the year that occurred when a student may have been recorded to a non-funded situation, just absent, and then they get switched to a funded situation. So we just come back and look, do y'all have the support for that? Whether it's documenting they were on a field trip or whatever it may be, we look at that. And we just look at a sample, but usually pretty quick at districts we can identify if there is an issue anywhere. But we didn't identify any issues. We also look at best practices and things in all these areas, and we discuss those over time. So with the environment always changing with technology, we always try to make sure the district is on the front end of anything and protect y'all from things that come down the pipeline. Some high-level financial statement highlights here. So the statement of net position is the first one. This is a government-wide statement. It's a accrual basis accounting, so it includes your capital assets and long-term debt. And I'll just jump to the bottom line there. So your total net position is $61 million, but out of that, there's $41 million invested in capital assets, and that's capital assets net of any related debt to pay off those capital assets. And so then just have a slide there just for that graphic over time, that number over time. And so this basically means it is possible to go negative on this number. It's like being upside down on your mortgage. And so this here means you're investing in your capital assets. You're building more and faster than they're depreciating. So that's always a good sign there. And then, looking at your actual general fund, focusing on your revenues, so fiscal year 2023 revenues, this is where the money came from. So 86% funded with property taxes, and then 3% state aid. So that formula there definitely swings from district to district. We see all ends of the spectrum. And then you also have your chapter 313 of 4 million of 3%, and then some other various items there. Jumping to the next slide, instruction and instruction-related services made up your second largest category of expenditures for your general fund. So that's at 34%, and typically we see this at between 60 to 65% once, but if you put in recapture, then obviously you see your money is going elsewhere. So 39% to recapture, and then the other categories there are 10% and below. And then quick budget to actual increase to fund balance in the general fund. So this was the end result of the year, was an increase to fund balance of $5 million, ending fund balance of $65.3 million. And out of that, your unassigned portion is $60.5 million, and that's 158 days in fund balance. So compared to the benchmarks that TA recommends, 90 days. So you're over that benchmark. So you have a healthy fund balance. And then on your child nutrition fund, you ended the year with a fund balance of $1.5 million, and so you are limited to 3 months expenditures in this fund, and it is very common that we see this excess fund balance at districts, but you all have a plan to reduce that, and y'all are just slightly over here. So we see even more than this, pretty common to see.
Say that again, go back.
So you're limited to 3 months in expenditures in the child nutrition fund. So if your fund balance is over that, then you have to have a plan to reduce it.
Okay.
So a spending plan.
Yeah.
Usually it's investing in more capital assets, kitchen equipment. And then your debt service fund, you had an increase in fund balance of $1 million, and so you ended the year. And that most of that is all to use pay for that first principal and interest payment for your end on this. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Can you elaborate, did you mention it has to be a 90-day reserve balance, where the 158, I guess, because in the past I asked questions about that, I was a bit confused, because I think in years past, you guys always say it's 90 days, but we're on a different calendar year. What's the?
Because we have a June budget.
Correct, yeah, we're July 1st fiscal year. So yes, TA says that you need to have 90 days, but the fact that we have 2 extra months before we start getting our tax revenue in December timeframe. So the best practice is to have 150 days.
And you said we have 158?
158 days, yes.
We're still in the good.
Yes. So what TDA really should say is, if you're July 1, this is what you need to have, and if you're September 1, this is what is recommended, right? But they don't, they just say, 90 days.
Correct.
Any other questions for
the difference.
Wait,
was that recorded?
I had one, Ms. Medell, this is like maybe for next time, because I'm slow. We talk a lot about the general fund balance, and so, I mean, that's impressive to go from an adopted budget of almost $7 million deficit to a $5 million in the positive. So we talked about a lot about that. I understand how that got to there, but I don't understand on the debt services side how we ended up. I think it was like a $3 million budget deficit adopted, and we ended up $1 million. So not today, but in the next time, can you explain to us? Because again, I'm slow, but how do we? I mean, that's a huge positive as well. I still don't understand how we have a $4 million swing on that one.
And well, the reason for that is because we receive more tax revenue than we anticipated. Because remember, this is all when we adopt our budget for the debt.
Come on.
When we adopt our budget in June, it's on preliminary estimated property values. And then when it actually closes out and we get those tax revenues, it went up greatly, substantially. So we receive more tax revenue, and with debt service, we don't have to, there's no recapture for debt service. So we get to keep all of that money. None of that goes back. So
it's about a $15 million positive swing in our favor, right, between these two, the general fund and the debt service fund.
well, it's not a net positive because our fund balance prior, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, whatever our fund balance was last year versus what it is this year.
For debt service?
Yes, for debt service.
It was 9.5 million
Yeah.
last year.
So we didn't go up we only went up like $1 million.
Only went up $1 million. That actual column is.
I'm just going off the budget, like we adopted a negative $3 million budget, right? Is that how I read that?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
4.3.
just off budget, we are about a $15 million positive swing.
4.3 million is, well, I mean,
With general fund?
Well, yeah, with both the two combined.
okay.
So I guess, so this year we adopted a roughly $9 million negative budget. Or do we still think, I know I asked this a lot, but are we, I know it's a conservative budget, I mean, we still feel pretty confident that,
We won't know anything until the legislature tells us what they're going to do. I mean, that's the God honest truth. We don't know. We adopted a budget, yes, that was, $9.2 million, and well, really it's gonna be like 8.5. So, as they got their teams data, as we get, as they kind of see what our enrollment is, it's just, I can't tell you.
And average daily attendance will be a
Average
part of
daily
that.
attendance is gonna come into play, like everything comes in, but if everything stays the same right now, and if this year is exactly like last year, then it's hopeful that, no, we will not have a negative, ending.
gotcha.
But we don't know what.
I just wanted to make that public, there is a we don't know for sure, but it's
We
a
don't
very
know for
high
sure.
possibility that we could end up in the positive.
There is a possibility that we could, and there's a possibility that we couldn't.
Perfect.
It's
You're
projected.
right.
I mean, that's a
We adopt a
difference, like a
conservative.
$15 million.
For that reason.
Come out better
Is
than
big.
projected.
Hey, in terms of the financial report, do we have any other questions for Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Jason?
We came up with, on your report, it says we have 158 days. On this report,
For first.
for first, it says we have 167 days. Are they because they were captured at a different time?
The
Or-
first,
A year before. The team's one is
Okay.
a year,
And this is
2022.
thank you.
And that's
That's
2023.
a year past, this is current.
Thank you.
And I'll just add on the debt service, that amount that you have in fund balance is calculated based on the outstanding debt you're gonna have at that point in time. To have enough money. So it was really planned because you issued, well, you're gonna issue. At this point in time, you hadn't issued those bonds yet, but you do in August.
Right.
And so you'll have the money to start paying those, and anything in this, if you were to have more in this fund, it would be more that you could use to pay off bonds early and save on that future principal and interest. And another thing we discussed was, you did come in higher on property taxes, but we're seeing a lot of refunds, a lot of significant refunds, and so that may not get captured until later.
Well, and our maximum compressed tax rate is different, so this year's gonna be a
Right.
different ball of wax.
Yeah, sure, good.
Yes, so all of that money that we received, that we, got back on that recapture, that $3.5 million, we might have to refund that next year. And that's what he's talking about, like it's gonna balance itself out, like, so we ended with it in our pocket, but potentially, we're gonna have to refund our taxpayers.
Because of the homestead exemption?
No,
or-
not because of homestead, because of the, our property values decreased. So they paid taxes when the property values were at this value.
If they protest.
And protest
Yeah.
the
And now the property values are right here. So they paid right here, but that made our recapture go down because we paid on this too. So our recapture went down, but that means also theirs, something's gonna come back to them. So our revenues are gonna, our tax revenues might not be exactly what we think they're gonna be. They could be lower. And that's what Patrick's talking
So
about.
it's too early to assume that, because
Everything's too
I've
early.
heard like, well, that's gonna be a net bringing down the deficit, but you're saying now it could go as far as less
Right, but we
revenue.
don't know how much or how long it's gonna take. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
We're walking blind.
Yeah, a lot of this is out of our hands completely.
Right.
It's all speculation, it's educated guesses.
It's educated guesses, which is why we're conservative with it.
Yeah.
And there's a schedule, the J1 schedule, and the report is page 89, but that's a roll forward of your taxes each year. And so in the collections column, if you see a negative, that's because you refunded more in that year. You still collected some, but your refunds for that tax year were more than you collected. So you have, that's about $1 million in refunds in 2023, and it could be more because you had collections to offset.
So I just want to make sure clear, so that money we got from recapture, it's too early to say that's going to reduce the deficit because of the way the property tax compression. Is that correct? What I'm
Well,
hearing?
it doesn't have anything to do with compression.
Well, I'm
It's-
saying less revenue, but,
Right.
you know, we're trying to say, well, we got less deficit because we're getting that money back, but that could be in the future less revenue.
It could be.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Stacy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion, board? I seek a motion.
Make a motion, we approve, where'd it go? Approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the year end June 30th, 2023.
I seek a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Crutcher. Call for the vote. All right.
Actually, let me put mine no. I'd like to change my vote to a no.
Like to,
Yeah, change mine to a no.
Do you want us to revote?
do we need to re-register that vote?
I have it.
You got it?
4, 1, and 1.
Okay. Thank you, Candace. We'll move on to B, adopt a resolution number 2023-24, casting a ballot for Board of Directors of the Harris County Appraisal District election. Discussion?
I'll go ahead and, I'm gonna make a motion, I'll make move that we cast a vote for Martina Lemon Dixon. She's a Leadership TASB graduate of 2019, and she's been been chair of the HCAT committee for a while for representing the school districts, and she has represented us well, and I think she will continue doing a good job.
I'd like to second that.
Seconded by Mason. There's a motion on the floor and a seconded. Any further discussion? I call for the vote. 5-1 there. Motion carries. We'll move on to item 11, action on closed session items. There was nothing to take action on, and we will move to 12, closing comments of the Board of Trustees. Mason?
I would like to, it's kind of the president of Rotary this year, but it's a brag on our club, and we have allocated a few $1,000s to disperse to a few different campuses. We got with Miss McAdams at the junior high already, and we bought about $500 worth of books for your library, and then Dr. Griffin, and at the high school, we're going to contribute to the esports, Mr. Grammer? Yeah. So a few different campuses, and we're going to go around, and hopefully every campus will get touched a little bit by Rotary, and I just want to thank our club for their generosity in allowing us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mason. Melissa?
I just wanted to comment on going into the Thanksgiving break and having that week. Just thank you to all of our teachers and staff. Just really enjoy that time, refresh, use it to relax, to decompress a little bit. Even though I know we had the mini break, it seems like it's been a long time since we've had a rest. There's been so much going on, so I hope you all enjoy that. I know our students are looking forward to it for sure. So please be safe and enjoy it.
I would like to add one more thing. I've seen on Facebook, on the campus's Facebook, I saw Heritage, y'all all went to the Nutcracker Market. I think those things are really cool that y'all do that. And Miss Whitlock, I played bingo with Miss Whitlock and some of the staff at CPE the other day. So I think it's really cool that the campus are doing that, and they're bonding and interacting outside the campus. So I wanted to give kudos to all those people.
Ms. Thompson?
I don't know that I have anything in particular, but I'll tell you I experienced a new thing, and Dr. Jackson ended up being there too, watching a water polo game, and talk about athletes, wow. Yeah. Like, people are trying to drown you while you're trying to play. It was just, anyway, so hats off to them. And, been to some volleyball games, football, of course. Congratulations to the Bulldogs on their district win. And looking forward to the break as we move into the grateful season. Just know that we are grateful for you as being part of our family.
Thank you, ma'am. David?
This is based on an 8-hour workday, but I know many of you work more than 8 hours a day. We have 24 school hours left to the Thanksgiving holiday. And being a math teacher, count that as 1,440 minutes, so. But thank y'all for the hard work y'all been doing, and please get some rest over the holidays. And I know it's been, you know, every year gets tougher, and the more challenges are at your plate. So, but I know y'all been doing a very good job at handling those challenges that wherever life is thrown at you. And I appreciate all you do, and continue doing the great work that you do. That's all.
Thank you. Jeff?
Okay. I'm excited. I'm so appreciative of, not these two, of all the work that the board and the admin, your team's doing, Dr. Jackson. You guys work so hard to make things better and have the sustained excellence here in the Porte ISD, but I know that you guys can't do it alone. And I'm so proud, this partners education and some things that you've allowed us to implement in the last couple of years, I think are bearing such tremendous fruit and will continue to go forward and really will set our district apart. So I'm just so proud and honored that we have that in our district. And Terry, the job you're doing with that. I found out this week that one of the really cool things, they're just coming a man. There's all these different ancillary programs that are coming up. People are hearing about the ability to pour back into our kids, and they're starting these things. And one of them is student life. I found out this week that we, between DeWalt, the high school, and Baker Junior High, we meet with about 500 kids a week. And it's about building relationships and about pouring back into these kids and meeting them where they're at and giving them a word of encouragement. And so I just think that more than anything, that and our helps mentoring, things like that, are really, really going to bear fruit. I'm just so honored that you allowed the people in our community to kind of pursue those, and you encourage them to do that. So thank you.
I'll second that, and it is true buy-in by the whole city of LaPorte, and it's great to see. Just kudos to every fall sport on the campus of the high school made it to the playoffs this year, first time in a very long time. So kudos to all the programs. Our band won sweepstakes again. If you did not attend the Veterans Day production on Friday, you know, it struck me at one point just to hear, you know, the students and the choir singing and the band, and just it really is touching to see and how gifted a lot of our kids are. Obviously, the AP scholars that showed up today. But to reiterate everybody, what they said, enjoy your break. You're doing a remarkable job. If you're not seeing the goodness that's coming out of LaPorte ISD, then you don't want to see it, because it's there, and it's there every day on every campus, and we are making a difference. So kudos to everybody involved, and I hope you enjoy your break.
Have a wonderful and restful Thanksgiving break.
All right.